Good day, boys and girls. We are Bobby and Chanel, and we will be telling you something about a man who is known as the King of Conquerors, Alexander III of Macedon, commonly known as Alexander the Great. First off, we'll be telling you something about his background and childhood, followed by Alexander's reign, and finally, I'll tell you something about his death and his legacy.
Background and childhood. Alexander was born on the 6th day of the ancient Greek month of Hecatombon, which probably corresponds to 20 July 356 before Christ. The city he was born in was called Pella, the capital of the Kingdom of Macedon. Alexander was the son of the King of Macedon, Philip II, and his fourth wife, Olympias. Although Philip had 7 or 8 wives, Olympia was his principal wife for some time, likely a result of giving birth to Alexander. Some people thought that Alexander's father was Zeus because his mother, Olympias, had a dream that her womb was struck by a thunderbolt, causing a flame that spread far and wide before dying away. Alexander was raised in the manner of noble Macedonian youth, learning to read, ride, fight, and hunt. When Alexander was 10 years old, a trader from Thessaly brought Philip a horse, which he offered to sell for 13 talents, the currency of that time. The horse refused to be mounted and Philip ordered it away. Alexander, however, detecting the horse's fear of its own shadow, asked to tame the horse, which he eventually managed. Plutarch stated that Philip, overjoyed at this display of courage and ambition, kissed his son tearfully, declaring, "My boy, you must find a kingdom big enough for your ambitions. Macedon is too small for you," and bought him the horse. Alexander named it Bucephalus, meaning ox head. Bucephalus carried Alexander as far as India. When the animal died, due to old age, Alexander named the city after him, Bucephala. Alexander on the throne. After Philip was assassinated in 336 before Christ, Alexander succeeded his father to the throne and inherited a strong kingdom and an experienced army. He had been awarded the generalship of Greece and used his authority to launch his father's Pan-Hellenic project to lead the Greeks in the conquest of Persia. In 334 before Christ, he invaded the Achaemenid Empire, ruled Asia Minor, and began a series of campaigns that lasted 10 years. Alexander broke the power of Persia in a series of decisive battles, most notably the battles of Issus and Gaugamela. He subsequently overthrew the Persian king Darius III and conquered the entirety of the First Persian Empire. At that point, his empire stretched from the Adriatic Sea to the Indus River. Seeking to reach the ends of the world and the great outer sea, he invaded India in 326 before Christ, but was eventually forced to turn back at the demand of his troops. Alexander died in Babylon in 323 before Christ. The city he planned to establish as his capital without executing a series of planned campaigns that would have begun with an invasion of Arabia. In the years following to his death, a series of civil wars tore his empire apart, resulting in several states ruled by the Diadochi, Alexander's surviving generals and heirs.
Alexander's death. On either the 10th or 11th of June 323 before Christ, Alexander died in the palace of Nebuchadnezzar II in Babylon at the age of 32. There are 2 different versions of Alexander's death, and details of the death differ slightly in each. Plutarch's account is that roughly 14 days before his death, Alexander entertained Admiral Nearchus and spent the night and next day drinking with Medius of Larissa. He developed a fever, which worsened until he was unable to speak. In the second account, Diodorus recounts that Alexander was struck with pain after downing a large bowl of unmixed wine in honor of Heracles, followed by 11 days of weakness. He did not develop a fever and died after some agony. Given the propensity of the Macedonian aristocracy to assassination, foul play featured in multiple accounts of his death. Diodorus, Plutarch, Arrian, and Justin all mentioned the theory that Alexander was poisoned. Justin stated that Alexander was the victim of a poisoning conspiracy. Plutarch dismissed it as a fabrication, while both Diodorus and Arrian noted that they mentioned it only for the sake of completeness. It is claimed that the strongest argument against the poison theory is the fact that 12 days passed between the start of his illness and his death. Such long-acting poisons were probably not available at the time. However, in 2003, Dr. Leo Schep from the New Zealand National Poisons Centre proposed in a BBC documentary investigating his death that the plant white hellebore may have been used to poison Alexander. Another poisoning explanation was put forward in 2010. It was proposed that the circumstances of his death were compatible with poisoning by water of the river Styx, that contained a dangerous compound produced by bacteria. Several natural causes, as in diseases, have been suggested, including malaria and typhoid fever. Alexander the Great, his legacy. As you all might know, Alexander the Great's empire was huge. His kingdom stretched from Macedon all the way to what we currently know as India. Thanks to his central reign, he brought about a cultural division. An example of this is Greco-Buddhism, which is a cultural syncretism between the Hellenistic and the Buddhistic culture. Alexander the Great founded lots of cities, of which around 20 carried his name, most notably Alexandria in Egypt. The culture he spread was still noticeable in the Byzantine Empire mid-15th century. Alexander the Great was a military genius, who is still an example to many. His tactics are still taught at military academies throughout the world. Alexander the Great is often ranked among the world's most influential people of all time, along with his teacher, Aristotle. Alexander the Great was one of the first rulers to put a seal of approval on a golden coin to guarantee its worth. This made trade easier, and the economy benefited greatly under Alexander's reign. But his greatest legacy of all is of course his huge empire he left after his death, which slowly crumbled as rulers tried to grasp it. Almost no one has as much success as Alexander, and this is why he was also an example to many dictators, including Hitler. This was our presentation. We hope you enjoyed it.